This is a migration map. Everyone treats it like a real estate stat. It's actually not. It's a confession. Every arrow on this thing is somebody admitting out loud with their feet that the life they were living wasn't working anymore. Right now, the biggest arrows pointing at Reno start with San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, Seattle, and San Diego. That's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. And by the end of this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what that pattern is saying, where you're leaving from, when you'll actually pull the trigger, and the one mistake almost every relocating buyer makes before they even open Zillow. Then I'm gonna show you why sitting around waiting on the interest rates to drop will probably be one of the most expensive mistakes you make in real estate. Because a lower rate doesn't just lower your payment. What it's actually doing is inviting millions of people into the very pool you're trying to swim in. And some of them are actually going to end up standing right next to you, bidding on the very same property. Hi, I'm Raynor, and I've been selling real estate since 2005, and I made this very exact move in 2015. I have a California license, I have a Nevada license, the whole thing. So this isn't about a market report that I got done reading this morning. In fact, I ran these exact same numbers at my kitchen table first. Nobody leaves where they're at over one bad Tuesday. It's never just one thing. It's thousands of little things that finally show up on the same bill. And it usually takes time. So if you're commuting over 10 hours a week, that's actually 500 hours every year. Or over 22 full days staring at the back of somebody's car and that bumper sticker. And probably secretly asking yourself, when did I agree to do this? Eventually you'll stop asking, should I move? And you'll start asking yourself, how many more Tuesdays am I willing to donate to brake lights? Then it turns into a value problem. Not a price problem, but value. In fact, you could be doing great. You have real income, a nice house, and a solid career. But then you still end up hearing your neighbor's Bluetooth through the fence that you paid a premium for. And then at some point, you're gonna stop asking yourself, can I afford this? And you'll start asking yourself, what am I getting for it? And then people start wanting space. Not square footage, just a little peace and quiet. In fact, I had a couple that moved up here that told me right after they got here that it was one of the first times they heard silence. Another client of mine told me they forgot what stars actually looked like till they moved here. You know what? Those aren't housing comments. Those are, I finally can exhale. But before we get into it, if you're the type of person who actually reads migration maps for fun, then hit that like and subscribe button, because I'm about to break down 5 more of these by city, and you don't want to be hunting for them later. Now, here's where the map gets specific, because every city on it is leaving for a slightly different reason. San Francisco is the one that's sending us the most people, and the story there is very simple. They did everything right, and the reward for doing everything right was a smaller house, more noise, and a commute that requires a strategic planning. Most Bay Area buyers show up with what I call equity passport. It's years of California appreciation that buys real space up here. And I'll say the quiet part out loud, and that is Reno is no longer the discount rack. You're not buying cheap. What you are buying is a better return on all the success that you've already built. Next on that list is Sacramento is the more interesting story. Honestly, because Sacramento used to be the escape hatch for the Bay Area. Now it needs its own escape hatch. Prices climbed, traffic followed, and a lot of Sacramento buyers made one compromise just to watch it catch up with them anyways. So the question starts changing from what's cheaper to where actually starts to fix this. LA's the obvious one. Everyone blames the traffic, and sure, the traffic is real. But the traffic isn't really the problem. It's what the traffic steals. Dinners, workouts, the 20 minutes that you meant to spend with your kids before bed. So people leaving LA aren't chasing a smaller city. They're chasing to get their evenings back. Then there's the Seattle buyer. They usually love the mountains and the outdoors, and they're just done negotiating with the sky for sunlight 5 months out of the year. Reno gives them the same peaks, the same 4 seasons, with considerably fewer months wondering if the sun filed for an extension. Then we have 2 more cities on the list, that's San Diego and Las Vegas. And these 2 cities run it out. San Diego buyers already like their life, they just don't like the invoice that's attached to it. And Vegas buyers, well, they mostly want a version of Nevada that actually has seasons and doesn't feel like a bachelor party that got loose on a Tuesday. But let me be straight with you, because Reno's not perfect either. We sit at about 4,500 feet in elevation, which means the weather has opinions and can change really fast. We're talking spring at lunch and winter by dinner time. And then there's the elevation, which can actually catch people off guard for the first few weeks. And there are bad fire seasons, which brings us a lot of smoke. But none of that is a deal breaker. It's just real, and anyone telling you that Northern Nevada is 365 perfect days is trying to collect a commission before you'll even notice the wind. So if that's why people actually leave, then when do they actually pull the trigger? Because it's almost never when people see this map. I've never met anybody who sees a migration map and then orders the moving truck the same day. Generally, this happens in stages. First, it starts with some complaints. Then you find yourself browsing online for just a few houses to see, what's out there. Which is actually just like checking the refrigerator to see if there's anything good in there. You know what you're up to.
What refrigerator?
Then you end up watching one Reno video like this one, and it turns into 15 more. Then you find yourself flying out because, we have a vacation, but it never turns into a full vacation. It's a reconnaissance that's wearing vacation clothing. You end up timing the drive to the airport. You stand in the grocery store parking lot looking at your phone like you're checking something out, but you're really determining whether you could actually see yourself living here or not. What we do find is most people end up moving around a transition. For some of them, it's when remote work goes permanent. For others, it's when kids finish school. Or we've actually heard it's when retirement stops being some far-off thing and it actually has a date on the calendar. We have others who have sold businesses. We've heard others say it's when stocks vest. And for others, it's when they've built a level of success with where they're at and the equity does all the math for them. And then once they've decided, they all seem to make the same mistake. They open up Zillow. It all becomes about bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchens, only to find that Zillow starts serving up houses like it understands your life. But it doesn't. Zillow can tell you if the countertops are quartz, but it can't tell you whether you're still going to be happy there in 5 years. Houses are easy, communities are much more hard. The right house in the wrong neighborhood will have you hating your Tuesdays all within about 12 months. That's because the Reno Metro isn't one place. It's actually created of over 100 different communities, all delivering different lifestyles. For someone who wants acreage and quiet, they should be looking in Galena Forest or St. James Village. For somebody who wants golf and gates, you should be looking at Arrow Creek or Matro. And for someone who wants new construction and parks, they should be looking in Demonte Ranch or Spanish Springs. And then there's another crowd, and they are the ones that want to walk to coffee or dinner. They should be looking at Midtown. So picking the most expensive neighborhood is not a good strategy. It's more about picking the one that actually supports the life that you're trying to live. Now that's the real strategy. Okay, so you've done that. You know the lifestyle, and now you know the neighborhood. Here's where it gets financially interesting and where the two states start fighting over your paperwork. I had a client last year who had already picked the neighborhood, already picked the house, and then found out that the California title company and her Nevada lender weren't talking to each other. Her closing date kept slipping week after week. And that's the exact problem my wife, Cindy, solves. She has spent over 3 decades in escrow and lending, and her entire job on our team is to make sure the two-state transaction doesn't fall apart in the gap between the two sets of paperwork that were never built to talk to each other. You've probably seen my other video on establishing residency, but let me tell you this right now. I am not your CPA or your attorney. If you're a business owner or an executive with real liquidity events coming, California residency question and the timing of the sale or a domicile change matters more than almost anything else in this entire process. I coordinate the real estate side of this transaction and can even give you a checklist for business owners so that you can talk to your accountant or attorney about it. All you have to do is comment below and ask for the businessman's checklist. But get the tax side handled by someone who's actually licensed to handle it and knows your entire financial picture. This should all be done before you do anything that's irreversible. Once the lifestyle, the neighborhood, and the tax timing are all lined up, the next step is simple. Go experience Reno like a resident and not a tourist. You should go out and drive the actual commute, visit the actual grocery store, and test the airport run in the actual time that you would be going there. Don't spend the entire time that you're here up at Lake Tahoe trying to imagine what your day would look like on a Tuesday morning in Damani Ranch. Now, here's the part that almost nobody's math accounts for. And it's the real reason I'll just wait for rates to drop comment might be the most expensive sentence you've ever whispered in real estate. And that's because according to the National Association of Realtors, every time the rates drop about 1%, roughly 5.5 million new buyers come back to the pool that you're swimming in. And this is including about 1.6 million renters that now magically are pre-approved. This alone can drive double-digit increases in yearly sales with the price following very closely. NAR estimates about 10% of these people actually transact within about 12 to 18 months. That still adds about 500,000 people trying to buy in the same markets that you are. Here's what that actually does to your number. Say you're looking at a house today that's listed at about $700,000. You have about 20% down and now you're financing $560,000 at 6.5%. That's roughly $3,540 a month in principal and interest. Now you decided I'm gonna wait. Rates actually drop a full point and they go all the way down to 5.5%. Great news, right? Except now your competition you were waiting to avoid just walked back through the door and now that same house got bid up to $750,000. Now your new loan is $600,000. Your new payment at 5.5% is about $3,407. You waited a year, it dropped a full point, and your payment improved by about $133 a month. And now you need another $10,000 for the bigger down payment while giving up that $50,000 in equity that would have been yours. It would take you approximately 451 months or 37.6 years for that $133 monthly savings to equate to the $60,000. That's not a win, that's a really expensive tie. Freddie Mac had the average 30-year rate at 6.6% as of the end of July 2026. I'm not going to sit here and predict the exact week rates crack back into the fives. Anyone who gives you a date for that needs a much bigger disclaimer under their video. But what I can promise you is when it hits, there's going to be millions of new buyers that show back up to the market that are now qualified, ready to bid against you. Showings will go up, offers will go up, and sellers' flexibility to want to work with you will go down. The negotiating room you have right now with price cuts, credits, rate buydowns, and that room shrinks or disappears altogether the second rates move. And then that new wave of buyers lands on top of the relocation pipeline that's already building from this map. So you'll end up with two forces hitting the same market at the same time. You're going to end up with people who have been researching Reno for the last year, and then a whole pool of new buyers that showed up and got qualified because the rate actually dropped. That's how a market could look really calm or even slow in July and then end up in multiple bidding wars by October. So it's not because of a headline, it's simply because the confidence in the market has come roaring back with a slight rate drop. So no, I'm not telling you to go out and panic buy before this all happens. Personally, I think that's just as foolish as waiting for rates to drop. The actual strategy here, well, it's quite boring. Buy the right house in the right community when the payment works for your life today. Then refinance it later when the numbers make sense. You can refinance a rate. You cannot refinance that $50,000 that 10 new buyers just added to the price. So, back to the map. It's really not telling you where people are moving to. It's honestly telling you what they're chasing. More time, more space, more quiet, and more control over what a Tuesday will actually feel like. And the mortgage market is quietly relaying the same thing. And that is, waiting is not free. It just charges you that currency that you won't notice until we get to the closing statement. The right day to move is never the time where all the stars line up and all the conditions come in together perfectly. Let me help you. That day's not coming. The right time is when the payments are comfortable, the community actually fits how you want to live, and the move gets you closer to the life you're actually trying to build, and not just a bigger house in a different state. So if you're seriously looking at Reno, Sparks, Tahoe, or anywhere in Northern Nevada, there's a link below to book a strategy session with my team and I. We'll start with your lifestyle and your timing and not square footage. And if you want neighborhood by neighborhood breakdowns, then hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Chris Raynor, your go-to realtor for all things Reno. Until the next time.